Welcome to Scaling the Wall, a podcast where we uncover the real stories behind how people got into cybersecurity in the first place. And what we're learning is, most didn't follow a straight path. And that wall that seems so high from the outside isn't as tall as it really looks. So listen in and see where your story might fit. Let's get to it. Live stream? I don't want to live stream. Definitely don't want to do that. Imagine this just went live to LinkedIn and we didn't know.
Hello, everyone. Please leave Rejection Con and come over here.
Please leave Rejection Con and come watch this LinkedIn Live that is accidentally being streamed right now.
Fun.
Sounds like my kind of day. Amanda, thanks for being on this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Will.
We're launching season 3. I think I'm going to talk in a very smooth voice for the whole thing.
Okay.
Be very awkward. Just whisper.
Am I also supposed to do that?
I've watched podcasts where that's like the vibe, where it's like a really dark room and people are sitting in chairs. I'm like, why are they talking so quiet? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you mind introducing yourself, telling people who you are, and don't go into your whole story or anything yet, just currently where you're at.
Okay.
Would be a good place to start.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Smith. I am the marketing content director and brand voice at Phin Security. So I'm like behind the social media and pretty much any content you see getting churned out from there. That's really it.
So I love it. I have a question from that in and of itself. Do you interact with yourself then on a regular basis on social media? So you are both the Phin page and your own page. And a lot of times those two people are talking.
Yep. All the time. That's my favorite pastime, is just talking to myself across all of my channels. We used to have a third channel for our old podcast, and I would interact with all three on
that must have been
most posts.
I could see you sitting in the background just like laughing the whole time, having a great time, just cracking jokes at yourself.
Yeah. Some other people at Phin would message me and they'd be like, "This is ridiculous."
I like it. So yeah, this is the first episode of the third season of Scaling the Wall, and we're kind of taking a slightly different approach. So I know you've watched or listened to some of our earlier episodes that were much more in line with like, hey, here's some quick quips on cybersecurity and things that you can really know about. But one of the things that we've talked about at Fifth Wall and kind of been on my mind is kind of migrating this mindset to say, hey, look, yes, cybersecurity is a heavy lift, but at the same time, it really doesn't matter who you are or where you came from. There's a place for you here. And so I'm curious to hear about, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm just kind of curious to hear how you got into cybersecurity, but not just saying, well, one day I was doing this and now I'm doing another thing. Like, who are you? Where are you coming from? Tell us your story a little bit.
Okay.
Because that, I think, influences how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. How far back would you like me to go?
You tell me.
Okay. Let's see. I'll start.
When were you born?
Did you say when was I born?
It was a rainy day in late autumn.
I'm a Gen Zer, so I was born during the Great Rewiring, if you know what that is. I just started reading The Anxious Generation. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Have you read it?
No.
Oh.
I only heard about it because you posted about it on LinkedIn like a week ago.
Okay, great. It was only like a couple days ago, actually. But
I don't know. I lose track of time.
Yeah, it all blends together. So yeah, I was born in that era. So I grew up with social media, and Slim Jim was like my favorite Instagram account ever because they were just memes. And I was like, that'd be
like
a fun
the jerky?
job. Yes.
Nice.
If you ever want to go down like a rabbit hole, just look up like old Slim Jim. They're a little different now. They're not as cool, but they got too big for themselves. Actually, I think it started because some guy just like created an account for Slim Jim and just wanted to create posts for it, and then Slim Jim hired him to like run their actual Slim Jim account. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like that was what I was told back in the day. So just a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, I kind of love that. I've seen like Wendy's is just unhinged now on Instagram.
Yeah.
Little Caesars recently had a whole bring back pretzel crust campaign
I don't know if I
and
saw
they
that.
created an entire fake LinkedIn page about who for this guy who was their like chief menu officer or something,
Nice.
and they made a fake phone number for him with a voicemail and everything, and then the social media manager on Little Caesars just ripped him apart. It's like, I'm tired of trying, call this guy and tell him that you want pretzel crust again. And then like after the whole day of him just posting all this rage stuff, um there was all that stuff got deleted, and there was a post from Little Caesars that said, our social media manager got a little unhinged, we're sorry for all the things that they posted.
I love that. Good for them.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
intense. So I can see what you mean. Like when you see stuff like that, it could be pretty fun to get into the game.
Yeah, for sure. But that's surprisingly not where I started. I originally went to school for film editing and cinematography. And then after like a semester, I was like, I don't think this is for me. Mainly because no one told me I could do anything besides like full feature films with video. So like in my head I was like, I either have to go to Hollywood or nothing. Like there's no other option. Um just because at the time I didn't know anyone even in the space of video or marketing or anything. So left that school, took a semester off, and then I actually have a degree in interior design and architecture, which is
So you didn't finish your film degree. You just said this is stupid and went and did something else.
yes, correct.
Nice.
And so then I went to school for interior architecture and design, and mainly because I was like, I love HGTV, like it's fun, I like decorating and everything, which turns out it's not the same thing. And literally the first day of class they were like, if you came here because of HGTV, probably not the place for you. I was like, oh, that's me. But I ended up liking it a lot, so I stuck with it, and then got a job in that. So I was designing like offices and stuff for hospitals in Pittsburgh, and offices for like University of Pitt and stuff like that too. I did like a film room for their basketball team, stuff like that. So it sounds cool. It's actually very boring because they're like,
Were you living in Pittsburgh?
I was, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love it there. And then COVID happened. So I went home to my parents and was working remote. And then I got laid off. And I was like, this is the best day ever because I hated my job at that point. Um, so then during that time, I was like, I need to figure out something else that I like. And I kind of realized when I was in school what I liked about interior design was not actually doing the interior design. It was like marketing my designs. Because you would make like brochures and poster boards and all of this other stuff to basically market like, this is what I'm making, this is why it's needed. And I loved that aspect of it and not the other aspects. So I took a bunch of online certification courses for marketing, just in my unemployed spare time because I was like, I'm doing nothing, might as well do something. And then kind of just randomly networked with some people on LinkedIn, worked for a yoga company, and then through that, the CMO of like a tech company was like, hey, you would be great to just like, basically I was like an executive assistant for the marketing team and I would just do whatever they needed. So I did that for them and then kind of just worked my way up at that tech company and then found Phin on LinkedIn, and I wanted basically a way to be more creative because the company I was at was pretty large. It was like 6,000-ish employees, and they just did outsourced tech support essentially around the world. Um, and not a ton of freedom to do like creative stuff. Everything had to get approved by like 4 people. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this feels slow and not what I want to do. So yeah, I was looking for like a new opportunity where I could just be fun and creative, and found Phin, who was in the tech-ish space, and I have been here ever since. For like,
How old was Phin when you started with the company? Do you know?
I think like around 2 years old.
They were still babies.
Yeah, they were little babes.
Nice. I want to go back before I forget. because you talked about film, and I studied film a little bit in college just because I thought it was interesting. But you're so right. Like every class and every conversation was all gearing you towards like Hollywood level production stuff, and it was, you almost got the vibe of, well, if I stay down this route, I'm going to have to move to California, and I'm going to have to get a job as an intern at some point, buying everybody coffee, and maybe I'll be able to like hold the lights or the microphone at some point, and then I can really hit it big, and then I can be buying coffee and holding the microphones at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
it was interesting. So I could see how you were studying that as like your major, if that's not what you wanted to go into, because there's so much now with video that when we were in college, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like that wasn't even a thing. Like you had E-Bombs World and Newgrounds and like all these weird websites that I don't even know if you know what those are.
Nope.
But showing my age, that was back before the YouTubes were a thing, Amanda.
Okay.
So there was some, like, everybody had their own page for stuff. But anyway, all that aside, it's like that was all that existed. There wasn't all this other streaming level stuff or influencer videos or reviewer videos. Like, man, if I had known I could have been a tech reviewer back when I was in college and that was going to be a thing, I totally would have gone down that route.
Yeah.
I love tech. Look at my background.
I know. Look at you.
Like, look at me. I don't do any of it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. But okay, so you made your way to Phin, and you were working. You started as their social media manager, or like what was the?
Yeah, I was social media and events specialist, or I don't know, something along.
Oh, you
those
gotta
lines.
love the names of tech companies.
Yeah.
Hey Amanda, welcome on board. What do you want your title to be?
Yeah, pretty much.
Starts out as social media manager, and by halfway through, you're like, well, I'm doing a lot more than that. So can you add event specialist to it? That's going to make me more marketable to other companies.
There you have it.
Yeah, I hear that. So you came on board. So were you doing those things? So you were posting on their social or helping to create their social?
When you say was I doing those things at Phin or at the previous company I was at?
At the previous company, like was that kind of how you were working there? So when you came to Phin, it was transferable skills, or?
Yes, neither of them were my main job. So when I was there, I was content marketing manager, which is kind of similar to what I am now, actually. So I would oversee, like, I would review all of our website content, any of our social media content I usually made, but that had a really long approval process, so I didn't do a ton of it. What else? Like YouTube videos. If we did like videos about the company, like a hero video or whatever, pretty much I like oversaw and just managed all of that. So then I did some social media, and I was like, I want to do more of the social media aspect. And then I was also a big part of events there because they didn't really have anyone else to do it there. So I would do the logistics for that. So that's how I kind of got into the event part of it as well.
And what did events look like for that company?
It was pretty much the same as like MSP events. It was like big conferences. You have a
trade
booth.
shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have fun going to trade shows?
That's a good question. I feel like I have fun. They also really stress me out. I'm more of an introvert. So the thought of having to talk to a bunch of people I don't know is sometimes very overwhelming. So I don't know. Usually I leave a trade show and I'm like, that was a lot of fun. But it's like the getting there and like the first day or two, which usually they're like 3 days. The first day or two, I'm like trying to get into the swing of things of like, what does Phin do again? How do I talk about it to people? Which part of it is a lot of my job is writing. And I am not a good verbal person. And I just don't do it a lot when I'm talking about Phin because everything's written. So when I go to an event, it's like, okay, now I have to put this into verbal words, and I never do that in my job. So I have to like switch my brain for events, and I don't have enough practice. It stresses me out.
Do you feel like it's a thinking on the fly kind of thing, or do you feel like it's this is just not my skill set and I don't want to be doing this kind of thing?
Probably a little of both, I would say.
Sure.
I'm definitely not an on the fly thinker though. Like if someone asks me what I think about something, I'm like, Let me think about it and I'll get back to you in like an hour.
It's probably a good skill to have. I am an on-the-fly thinker, and that has caused me to put my foot in my mouth multiple times because you just kind of say things, and some like that's not true. It's strategic, but sometimes it's not strategic, and sometimes you just say stuff, and you're like, that came out wrong.
Yeah, I know someone at Phin like that. I won't name any names. You might know who.
Yeah, probably. Part of it's it sounds like you're an internal processor. Is that right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I do observe that people who are internal processors, when you go to trade shows and stuff, I mean, it's you're literally talking to people. If you're at the booth, you're talking to people, you're getting maybe 5 minutes, not even 2 minutes of their time. Like, it's not enough time to process and think through what you need to say. So
yeah, and I also get nervous. People are going to ask me questions of, I don't know why I get nervous, because I can literally just be like, I don't know, and it's like
yeah.
nothing's going to happen. But I just get nervous. People are going to ask me a question, and I'm like, I have no clue what the question is you're even asking. I just got to get used to being like, I don't know, talk to this person.
Why does it make you uncomfortable to say I don't know?
I don't know.
That was good. That was good comedic timing.
Thank you.
I just
no, that's a good question. I think actually it's really funny. I was just talking about this the other day to my husband. I used to work at Lowe's in the paint section. I don't know if this is what caused this anxiety, but people would come up to us and ask us questions all the time. And I'm like, dude, I'm a kid in college working over the summer. I would love to give you an answer, but I don't know. And so one time this woman came in and I actually did have an answer. And she wanted this product that Lowe's doesn't carry. And I was like, you're going to have to go to Home Depot. And she said, I should have done that in the first place because you're worthless. And I was just like,
what?
Ma'am, we don't carry this product.
You're literally on Home Depot's website right now showing me that product. It literally says Home Depot exclusive at the top of the webpage. Like, what more do you need from me?
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's where it stems from. I don't know.
It's actually interesting you said that, because I talked to someone recently who worked at a Lowe's. Actually, no, I think they worked at a Home Depot, and someone came and asked them for something, and they said, we have something similar, but you can get a better, more affordable version at Lowe's. And the person actually thanked them for it, because it was like, oh, you are directing me to your direct competitor, but that's awesome. I want to buy what you have instead now. Like, it was but obviously this lady couldn't do that in your case.
Yeah, no.
So she was just mad.
Yeah.
What did that have to do with paint?
It was so like when you're in the paint aisle, you have like stains and a bunch of other stuff that's also in there. And so whatever she was trying to get was like a type of stain or something, I think, that I was like, we don't carry. She wanted like the very specific stain. And I was like, we don't have that brand.
Got it.
But I was very nice to her. And then she said that. And then she walked away and I said, have a nice day.
Customer service. It's very important.
Exactly.
That sounds like it could be a root component of it. But I don't know if someone coming up to you at an MSP conference and asking you a question and you saying, I don't know, them saying, wow, you just ruined everything about this conference for me and it's all your fault, goodbye. And then just left the conference and went home.
I think it's a little dramatic.
Well, also, I mean, I do find that interesting, because when you go to a conference, I mean, hey, you're the marketing person. Like, that is your job. And yes, you should be able to talk about your company that you work for, but you also are not the salesperson.
Yeah.
I mean, on one level, I know Phin has moved in the direction of kind of product-led growth, but there's a cadence and a strategy to something like that. What's that experience been like for you with because you're not the salesperson, but also a lot of the stuff you're talking about is influencing people buying Phin because it's kind of that product-led approach.
Yeah.
How has that changed kind of the way you've had to think about the job? Or has it?
Can you rephrase the question?
Well, I mean, I can just say from my experience working with Fifth Wall, like, very sales-led approach. Hey, we want to close deals. We want to hit our what are they, quotas?
Yeah.
Hit our quotas, our KPIs, whatever you want to call them. We got to hit those metrics by such and such a date, and I want to shatter it so I can make more commission. Like, that sales-led growth mindset. And we've started developing our product, which we're utilizing to kind of lead the growth of the company. And I remember talking to you and Connor, I think, and you guys are doing something similar with Phin. You're kind of shifting your mindset to say, Phin, we want to make Phin so desirable and so good that it sells itself and people get excited to use it. So how has that had to shift maybe the way that you market and talk about Phin and approach your target audience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like we're kind of in the early stages of switching that mindset, so it's tough to say, but we've definitely had a lot more conversations about like what is it that we are actually providing.
Sure.
Obviously, like, yeah, we're providing security awareness training and phishing simulations, but what are like the actual benefits versus the features, and
Mm-hmm.
how is it affecting the MSPs that use our platform? And I think that's kind of sometimes a hard mindset to switch to. Like, for instance, we're always talking about, like, oh, we have 10-minute onboarding, which is like, oh, yeah, only 10 minutes sounds great. But it's like, that's more of a feature versus saying, like, hey, we're going to save you 10 hours a month versus we have 10-minute onboarding. Because they're
Right.
like, how does that affect me exactly? So, because if you hear 10-minute onboarding, you're like, yeah, great, but what about managing it and all this other stuff? So if you're like 10 hours a month, people are like, oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
So
That's more than a day of work,
right.
on average, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We're in the early stages of trying to figure out how we want to change our brains. But
Yeah. It's interesting because you have to like convey the you have to learn to convey the messaging away from just like you said features, and how does that feature solve a potential issue?
yeah,
I don't know.
I think
Anyway, it's
part of
very
it too is
interesting.
like trying to figure out if the pain points we've been focusing on for MSPs are actually the pain points we're
Mm,
solving, or I don't know. And I feel like you and I talked about this the other day of like making sure we're asking MSPs questions in a certain way that elicits the actual answer we're looking for. Um, I'm trying to think of an example. Like lately, I've been trying to figure out more types of content to create for MSPs that's like actually useful to them, and it's not just like what we think is going to be useful. And I found like if you just say to them, like, what are resources that you would find useful, they have like no idea how to answer that question. Whereas if I said like, what what do you think are the three hardest parts of your job, or which three tasks do you spend the most time doing in your role, or what are three tasks you wish you didn't have to do, things
hmm
like that, and then we take those answers and turn them into content.
That's interesting. Like thinking about that just on a broader perspective, this doesn't need to be the cybersecurity world. It's really anything. If you present someone with a question that's so open ended that they have to kind of rack their brain, they're probably not going to give you the best answers. Like if I just went to someone and said, "What do you struggle with?" or what kind of one pager could I give you that would be very helpful? It's just like, I don't know, this. And it's
Yeah.
just really broad and very open ended. But if you target it and say, hey, three things that do this, or two pain points around this particular subject, that gives you then some direction to address, like figure out and research a little bit ways to address it. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So thinking about your journey here, so you kind of shared a lot of different components: film, interior design. Did you decorate too, or did you just design the stuff?
Yeah, I designed the stuff. There's a big, I don't know what the word is, but interior designers hate when they're called decorators, and it's
Mm-hmm.
this like a lot of animosity. I get it to an extent, but at the same time, I'm like, only people in the industry actually know the difference, and it's not like they're purposefully trying to make you seem less than you are. I don't know. That's for
Right.
another day. But yeah, so
Sure.
I was an interior designer.
Sounds like there's some historical pain there that we may need to unpack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can just
No, I
edit that part out.
so interior design, you were you worked at a Lowe's,
I
which is
did.
something you conveniently left out at the beginning of your story.
I left out
Uh,
my favorite job that I've ever had too.
okay, well now you got to share that.
I used to clean at the middle school that I went to when I was growing up. I would clean during the summers when I was in college, and it was like literally you just plug your headphones in and you like screw around with your friends while you're home for the summer while you just clean things, and it was like just the best.
So you and your friends cleaned
Yep.
things?
Like you gotta, I don't know if you know this because I feel like I didn't know this until I actually had the job, but like during the summer they basically take everything out of every single classroom. You have to clean everything from like ceiling to floor, and then you put it all back. So that's what's going on in the summer at schools. It's getting cleaned
Interesting.
by a bunch of college kids who are just,
I kind of love that.
yeah.
I worked at a summer camp my college years, and I literally didn't. I just, from my junior year of high school until I graduated college, I would go to this summer camp and live there all summer, and it was awesome.
That sounds fun.
But I don't think I would have wanted to clean a school.
It's more fun than it sounds. I also enjoy cleaning, so
I was gonna say I hate cleaning.
yeah.
You should see what's in front of me compared to what's behind me.
Oh, same.
No, it's awesome. So taking all these moments and kind of components of your journey to where you are today, have you ever thought of like, potential hurdles that have kind of shaped the way you are today? Like things you've had to come up against in those jobs where you say, hey, yes, obviously there was, I did this thing at this company and this one facet that wasn't really my main job, but it's something I really like doing. It's something I wanted to do. But have you faced any like major hurdles that you had to overcome that kind of helped move you to where you're at today and made you who you are?
I feel like plenty of hurdles.
20?
Plenty.
Oh, maybe 20.
Yes.
20 could be 20.
There might be 20. Let's see. I mean, I kind of already mentioned it a little bit, but my previous role before Phin, like a big hurdle with that was being able to just like do my job without having multiple people have to like manage it and approve things. I feel like that was a pretty big hurdle where I was kind of like, I don't like being micromanaged all the time. And also, I get that a lot of time when you're being micromanaged, it's probably because your manager is also being micromanaged, which I think was a big factor there. But so yeah, that's one thing I've learned is I want to be able to like, if I'm hired for something, I'm able to just like, they let me do that job and go about it. But that was a big
almost like you want a level of trust
yeah
in your job to say, hey, we're hiring you for this and we trust you to do it right.
Yeah.
As opposed to being policed 24/7.
Yeah.
Which can be definitely for creative types, especially. I mean, that can be extremely frustrating. I mean, you have people on the opposite end of the spectrum who probably wouldn't post on social media at all, but because a company might say, here, we have templates that you can utilize and just post this stuff, like they post, right? But for creative types who want to really make an impact,
yeah,
it's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Social media was really tough too, because it was like the most corporate social media posts, and I was like, no one's gonna care about this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was a big one. I'm trying to think, like, when I had my interior design job, honestly, that was also, I think, like a creative hurdle where it was a lot of like people just told you what to do. They were like, we need 3 desks in a 10 by 10 room, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not what I thought I was going to be doing. And that job I definitely struggled a lot with because I was just like miserable going to work every single day. I was like, I hate this job. And I was away from home, which I had been away from home plenty of times, but this was the first time where I was like, or I guess the second time, I was in like a new city. I didn't know anybody. So it was like, I don't have anyone to reach out to and just like blow off steam with. And I hate my job every single day. I would get home from work at like 5 or 6 p.m. and just instantly get in bed. I was like, this is not good. So I feel like after that, I was kind of like, I need to make sure that I have a job where I like enjoy going to it every day, because I truly cannot imagine spending decades doing something that I am just miserable doing.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
So you're in the cybersecurity field now, reflecting on your journey, reflecting on these hurdles, all these components. What have you found in this industry that maybe you never expected to be looking for, never expected to be doing?
Probably
Like, why
everything,
would
because
people want to?
I didn't think I was going to end up here, but what were you going to say?
Why would people want to even work in a cybersecurity field in the first place?
I think there's a lot of different things that I didn't expect. For one, I just didn't even know what cybersecurity was before I ended up here. I feel like the average person, when they hear cybersecurity, it's just like firewalls or something, and you're like, yeah, you're
Antivirus,
like, that sounds like
McAfee.
really mysterious and scary, and you have to be super smart to do it. And I don't even know what that means. Um, but like being in it, I feel like there's just so many different elements to it. Like I'd never heard of cyber insurance. I wouldn't have known that existed. Um, and like security awareness training is one of those things that I feel like you don't even think of that as cybersecurity. It's just like corporate training almost. And that's like one of the few things that I feel like I already knew about just from working at other companies, because it's something that we did at other companies. So I was like, yeah, I know what that is. Everything else, I was like, I don't know what the heck this is. Um, but I would say it's surprisingly easy to understand what a lot of this stuff is when people break it down. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot of the concepts are like very complex, but I feel like as long as you have somebody who explains it, and like I feel like Wes Spencer's always doing the metaphors, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that makes complete sense now that you've explained it that way. So yeah, I feel like cybersecurity, I guess, comes off as a little scary, but then once you're in it, you're like, it's not that scary, and also everyone is very friendly.
That's very true. The number of people I've talked to who have engaged in the MSP community and are like, I don't want to ever work in another industry.
Yeah,
It's just so different from anything I've ever experienced. And there's a place for everyone, I think.
I agree. It's also like, I don't know, just so supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's reaching out to everybody, and yeah, I don't know. It's cool.
Love it. Amanda, real quick before we go, your name, Amanda Smith, very, I'm sure very, very unique and difficult or easy to find you on LinkedIn just by searching Amanda Smith. Not generic at all.
Nope.
Nothing. So to that end, if people want to follow your hilarious interactions with yourself on LinkedIn or social media or anything, what can they look for?
Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it is. Yes. Okay. Um, my like handle, I guess, on LinkedIn is /Mandasia, Mandasia. So yeah,
We
you
don't
can
have a
find me
lot of
there.
time, but I feel like that needs an explanation.
It's a quick explanation. When I was
Beautiful.
in like 8th grade, we had to create our own country, and so I named it Mandasia. And then I made that my Instagram handle when I was in 8th grade. And then I went to college, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's a cool name. We're just gonna call you that." So then everyone at college thought my name was Mandasia and not Amanda. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, Mandasia. I thought you were gonna either tell me that you were super into anime, or you aspired to be a Disney Channel original star, because those both sound like possibilities for Mandasia. Thanks for listening to Scaling the Wall. This episode was brought to you by Yukon. At Yukon, we believe everybody has the right to survive a cyber attack. Learn more at yukon.com. That's UKON.com. Be sure to check out the show notes if you want to learn more about and connect with our guests from this episode. And if you enjoyed the show and like what you heard, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, and hit the bell so you never miss a future episode. See you next time.